Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome. What an exciting moment. Can we take a moment to just clap for being here? Yes. Woo. It's a very exciting day. My name is Sasha Lake. I'm adjunct faculty at Bridgewater State University. My alma mater, and I recently joined Massasoit Community College as well. So I'm here today to welcome you and join in on this moment.
Hello, I also want to express a good welcome. Welcome to your home, because this is your house. My name is Jo Potatoes Barnes. I use they, them, their pronouns, and I am a student organizer for Phenom at Bridgewater State University. And we're going to start off by introducing the Executive Director of Phenom, Zach Baer, so let's give a big welcome.
How we doing? All right. Thank you all for joining us today. We have folks from, I think, almost all 29 public colleges and universities in the state here with us today. Thank you, Joe and Sasha, for your introduction. My name is Zach Baer. I'm the Executive Director of Phenom, the Public Higher Education Network of Massachusetts, and I'm also now a City Councilor in Medford, Massachusetts. I'd like to thank the folks who are here today and also the folks who can't be here today, which is why we are here. So for some of the folks who are here today, Representative Natalie Higgins, Representative Paul Donato, Director of the Mass Association of Community Colleges, Tom Santacandro, President Cox from Cape Cod Community College. We have the President of the MTA, Mary Najimy. She's taking a video. Vice President Max Page. We're also expected to be joined at some point by the President of the AFT, Beth Contos. And sending her regards is the President of the Boston Teachers Union, Jessica Tang. One other group, all 29 public college presidents and chancellors have endorsed the Cherish Act to fund our future, so thank them as well. The student leaders, community leaders, organizers, and everyone who is here as well, thank you. And then most of all, to the thousands of students and families and workers and people who may aspire to be all of those things who can't be here today and who are why we are here fighting for them. Thank you to them. So why are we here? We're here because our campuses are crumbling. We're here because people can't afford to go to public college in the richest state and the richest country in the history of the world. We can fix that. Staff and faculty, many are overworked, underpaid. We're seeing program cuts, budget cuts, and rising tuition and fees and rising student debt. All of this is wrong. All of this can be stopped, and all of it, at least most of it, comes from choices that are made in this building and the people who we're trying to reach out to. But I think we know what we deserve. Do we know what we deserve? Do we? We deserve fully funded campuses where workers have enough time in the day to do their job, where students can afford to attend public college and university, and where we don't go into debt just to get the education we need to succeed. We've gone from a system that I just described, a tuition-free system in the 60s, to an incredibly unfair system now. But we have a solution. We need to fund our future. And that starts with the Cherish Act, which will restore $600 million in funding to public higher education over the next 5 years. And while we're demanding the Cherish Act be passed now, we also know that even if that bill passes tomorrow, we need that funding next year. So we've outlined, and it's in the packets that you all have, what the first year of the Cherish Act would look like in this year's state budget. $120 million invested to reinvest in scholarships, to invest in adjunct faculty, invest in our buildings, and say no tuition and fee hikes next year. But that's just the first step. That just gets us back to where the cuts started 20 years ago. The most important thing we can do after we fund our future, or maybe even while we're doing the Fund Our Future campaign in the Cherish Act, is talk about debt-free public higher education for everyone. We have the Debt-Free Future Act, which would do just that, filed by Representative Higgins and Senator Jamie Eldridge. And you also notice that there's a lot more in the agenda than what I've just said. Our entire legislative agenda covers, issues from small to big, transformational, to just things that need to be fixed. From the Student Loan Bill of Rights to there's students here today from Cape Cod Community College who just want to change the law so that part-time students can be their student trustee. We're advocating for that today. We're advocating for our siblings, our neighbors and friends, immigrants who need access to basic services and protection. We're here also supporting workers, so you're not getting your wage stolen. So we're here for public higher ed, but our movement is about intersectional justice for everyone, and that's why we're here. So if we're going to achieve that, what are we willing to do? Are we ready to stand up? Are we ready to fight back? Yeah, so we stand here at a historic moment, a time of great change, a time when the ideas that I'm talking about now, 10 years ago, free college, debt-free, that wasn't happening. Now it's the national conversation. That's because we've done that. The people in this room and all of us raising our voices have changed the conversation. So we've been a part of some great movements. I'm going to go quickly through a few victories that we've won. 4 years ago, we won question 2 to say public funds for public schools. We won that with the Massachusetts Education Justice Alliance. And we're also part of Raise Up Massachusetts. And a little after that, we won a $15 minimum wage for everyone in Massachusetts. Paid family and medical leave. We won those together. And just last week, we had another victory. We support progressive revenue so that new taxes that we need to fund things are not coming off the backs of workers. And we're talking about a transportation investment that's going to raise taxes so that big corporations aren't paying the same taxes as small businesses. We fought for that, and we won that. So we can win this too. The most important lesson we can learn, and the thing I want you to all take with you, is that last fall we passed the Student Opportunity Act to invest $1.5 billion into public schools. We've won the biggest investment in 25 years. And now we're back. We're saying we're not done. It's time for higher ed. We can't afford to be graduating from the students from the best public school system in the country into an underfunded public higher education system. We're just sending young people and students off an education cliff. So we're back, we're here, and we're fighting to fund our future and build a debt-free future. Thank you all.
How many of you believe that there's no better voice than your voice? No better voice than your voice. Up next, we have Megan DeVoe, Student Government Association Vice President and Phenom Student Organizer at Salem State University. Give her a warm welcome.
Good morning. My name is Megan DeVoe, and I'm a college sophomore at Salem State University. I live a typical college life. I got involved in some organizations that I feel passionate about. I'm in the Student Government Association. I'm in Phi Sigma Sigma. I do homework with my friends and I go to class every day. I also work 3 jobs. Before you ask me why, I'll tell you. The funding to public colleges and universities have been cut dramatically, 14% if you want numbers. From 2001 to 2018, the state funding per student has dropped by $2,500. And the tuition and fees have risen by $5,400, all adjusted for inflation, of course. So now I work 3 jobs. I call myself a typical college student because my boyfriend works 3 jobs. Everyone I know totals their work hours between 35 and 40 hours a week. I refuse to give up my sorority or my position in student government because I'm so passionate about them both. You're probably about to say what my friends and families tell me all the time. It'll make you stronger, a better worker. No, it doesn't. It makes us struggle. We are working to afford college, but if we don't go, we'll risk struggling the rest of our lives. 35% of Salem State students are first-generation students. That means that 2,383 students are working not only to support themselves and make a better life for themselves, but for their families too. Last year, I had the pain of watching more than 15 people I knew drop out of college because the burden was just too much for them. The cost of college for students makes the question arise. Is this worth it? Is the debt, the struggles, worth it? And it breaks my heart to see bright young minds fizzle out because they don't have the financial support of the state. No one deserves this. Everyone deserves the chance to have a college education without working more than 40 hours or more a week. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. Next up, we have Sigrids Speech from UMass Unions United Coalition.
Great to see everyone. Really a pleasure to be with all of you today. My name is Sigrids Speech. I'm a member of the faculty in the history department at UMass Amherst, and I'm here representing UMass Unions United, which is a coalition of 17 unions across the UMass system. I want to say a few words about solidarity. I want to say that employees' working conditions are students' learning conditions. When we have overworked faculty, librarians, and staff, when we have adjunct faculty without job security, when we have building maintenance turned over to private companies that are not using union labor, when we have understaffed libraries, when we have clerical staff positions reduced or not keeping up with student numbers, students suffer. And I also want to say that student learning conditions are the working conditions for employees. All of us were students at one time. Many of us were college students, and our learning conditions follow us when we begin our employment. More and more employees are starting their jobs, starting their careers with massive student debt. So the student debt that students have, that becomes the student debt that employees have. Meanwhile, in a kind of broader sense, I've been working at UMass for 15 years, and things are getting harder for everyone. We are all stretched far too thin. Faculty and librarians and staff are doing more with less. Meanwhile, anxiety is through the roof for students. We have climate change, we have institutional racism, we have food insecurity, housing insecurity, health inequities, student debt, students working too many hours for minimum wage in many cases. And these are structural problems. And the solution to these structural problems is publicly funding our public needs and safeguarding well-paid, secure union jobs. And there is no better way to do this than by fully funding public higher education through the Cherish Act, and no better way to do that than through solidarity. So,
Thank you, Sigrid. Next up, we have Isabel DePina, Phenom Student Organizer at UMass Boston.
Good morning. My name is Isabel DePina. I am a student, a parent of 2 children, and a worker. My son Linnell is 19 years old and a first-year college student, and my daughter Rosalina is 12 in the 7th grade. I am a returning older student at UMass Boston, and my major is in labor study and minor in communication. I have $60,000 debt of student loan debt, and can only go to UMass Boston because of the scholarship I received. Because of my experience with student loan debt, I am worried for my children to go to higher ed. And to have the debt like I have. In addition to being a student and a parent, I am a worker that has experienced the unfunded system that we live in firsthand. It seems that no matter how hard I work to support my children for a better life, the system is not always on our side. This cost of college has shifted from the state to the student and family, which is why we have student loan debt. Since my son Linnell is a first-year college student, I have to have conversation with him about cost of college. Because of his first year, he doesn't have student loan debt yet, but the cost of college is going up. Along with tuition, he has to pay for things like fees and health insurance. His financial aid doesn't cover those costs, and he has to pay for them out of pocket. As a parent, I see that this problem aren't just affecting me. This are affecting my son, who is in college, and my daughter, who hopes to go to college. We need the Cherish Act to be passed. We know that the problems I face are caused by state unfunded. With the help of our state legislator, we can help students and families like mine. We need a solution to this crisis, and that's why we need to fund state college and university operating budget at levels enough to free the tuition. Fund our future.
Thank you so much for sharing your personal story. Next we have Cameron Costa, from a student organizer from Bristol Community College.
Good morning. Hello, my name is Cameron Costa. I'm currently a second semester student at Bristol Community College, where I currently serve as the Student Senate President and also as an organizer for Phenom. I'm currently enrolled in the Business Administration program, where I'm also taking classes in political science to be able to double major when I switch over to a four-year university. So I'm here today to speak about the absolute struggles of coming from a working class family. My sister, who's currently at UMass Dartmouth for nursing, and I were born in Charlotte, North Carolina. We were raised by a single mom, knowing the struggles of being a Puerto Rican woman trying to raise two kids down south. Even through these struggles, my mother taught me one important lesson that would stick with me for the rest of my life: the importance of education. When I was 5 years old, my mother moved us up north to New Bedford, Massachusetts, her hometown, where I currently reside, to make sure that we would be raised going to the best of the best Massachusetts public schools. It was at this time that my mother took my sister and I upstairs when we were raised in the projects and closed all the bedroom doors. She looked at us and said, "In order for you and your sister to get into your own rooms, you need to graduate from high school. In order to get into each other's room, you need to graduate with your bachelor's degree." So I looked up at my mom and I said, "Well, what about you, Mom? How do you get into your room?" She looked back at me and said, "I need to go back for my master's degree." Even at a young age, she was trying to show us that at a young age, that education opens many doors of opportunities. Hearing that crucial lesson taught me one thing and one thing only: I'm going to college. Fast forward to October 1st, 2018, where it is time to do one of the most dreadful things that every college student has to do: FAFSA. After doing my FAFSA with the support of my Upward Bound program, I looked at the screen waiting with excitement because I completed one of the first steps of the college process. But just like that, the excitement was gone and a flood of tears filled my eyes. The federal government told me that my mother could afford to pay $25,000 in total for both me and my sister. It felt like a punishment. The government didn't consider that my mother worked 80 hours Monday through Friday to move us out of the projects. It seemed like all they cared about was the fact that she makes a certain amount of money, enough to pay an additional $25,000 to send her two kids to school, which in reality was just enough to sustain living. This is the reason I decided to go to a community college. I needed the flexibility of working 3 jobs, staying actively engaged in my school and community, without getting in as little student debt as possible. While getting in as little student debt as possible. And for those who think that scholarships are the best option, I can tell you now that I graduated high school ranked 33rd out of 505 with a 3.91 GPA. I was an active member of 7 clubs throughout my 4 years, participated in over 100 documented community service hours each year, was in numerous honors and AP classes, wrote a well-composed essay that got me into some great colleges, and at the end, I applied for 73 scholarships and received 4. So if you tell me that I have not tried, then think again. I've done my part in succeeding in high school and trying to apply for scholarships. My mother has done her part in supporting in any way she can. Now it's time for our leaders and lawmakers to do their part and support the students and their families. Our legislatures are on Beacon Hill, have the opportunity to be a beacon of hope to all students, by stepping up and passing the Cherish Act. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cameron, for that heartfelt message. Next up, we'll have Representative Natalie Higgins join us of Leominster. She's also the former director of Phenom.
Morning, everybody. How's it going? Thank you for being here today. I want to know how many of you, this is your first time ever being in the State House? That's great. So like so many of these powerful storytellers before me, I want to share my story, right? This is the most powerful way that we can move legislation. I grew up in Leominster, the community I represent, in a working class family. My dad didn't get to finish high school. My parents own a small business. We worked really hard. I came up with standardized testing, and I tested really well. So my parents thought, great, here's our ticket into the middle class. We'll be fine. We don't have to worry about college for her. And beyond that, I got a full ride to UMass Amherst. So we thought we were going to college for free until I got the bill for the fees and had a little rude awakening and had to figure out how are we going to do this? Because we weren't prepared for that bill. I had done everything like so many of these students who came up before me, done all the right things, did all the clubs, did all the extracurriculars, everything, got the grades, and yet it was still too unaffordable. I'm so thankful for my parents doing everything that they possibly could to make sure that me and my brother could go to college when they didn't have that opportunity. I'm a proud graduate of UMass Amherst. My brother's a proud graduate of Mass Bay Community College. We know the value of our public colleges and universities. And that is what your job is here today, to make sure everyone in this building understands the value of investing in public higher education. That it is something that we cannot be competing and pitting K through 12 and early ed against higher ed, that we need to invest in the whole range of public education in Massachusetts, that we're a leader. We've always claimed to be a leader in public education, and we need to live up for that for every student, no matter what grade they're in. So please, share your stories. Meet with your legislators. One tidbit, it's a Monday, so if your legislator is not in the building, your staff is the next best place to do your advocacy. They are the ones who make us look good every day, right? We can't do everything on our schedule all the time. And if you didn't get a chance to meet with your legislator, ask them for a meeting at your campus, so that you can make sure the folks who didn't have the opportunity to join you today, who didn't have the ability to take off the day from school or work, can be a part of that meeting, can share their stories. This is something that doesn't end here. It starts today, and you need to continue to speak to us, to share your stories, to push for a debt-free future. Thank you.